Baseball with the Bard.
Good Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome back, back, to Baseball with the Bard, episode number 8, Mr. Cross. I am Tyler Bard, your host, and that way, is my best friend, Noah Cross, the magician, and we are back. 2 months we've been running this show now, Noah. Can you believe it?
Time flies, man. Time flies.
It does not feel like we've been here this long. 2 whole months now. So we just thank everyone who has joined us this far, and we plan to continue this podcast far into the future. So again, thank you so much for joining us on this newest episode of Baseball with the Bard. So let's kick it off here, how we always kick things off on this broken season, that is 2020, the COVID edition. So I have a few stats here I want to read on what's going on in the MLB for COVID response right now. So bear with me for a moment. So covered individuals in the MLB are now under monitored testing. To date, the results of the monitoring testing go as follows. The number of monitoring samples collected and tested in the past week was 12,780. One of those samples, which is 0.008%, was a new positive. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign for MLB. There was one positive test among players, so it was a player, and 0 among staff members. There were no new positives for the 5th consecutive day, and for the 10th time in the past 12 days. This was yesterday that I drew that stat, so I don't have anything for today. And the total number of monitoring samples collected and tested has been 103,668. 85 of those, which is 0.08%, so only a little bit higher than our last previous sample, have been new positives. And 55 of the 85 tests altogether have been players, 30 have been staff members. 21 different clubs have been affected, and a covered individual test positive during the monitored testing. So, even though it is spread out through a bunch of different clubs, it looks like it was kind of focused on certain teams that weren't cautionary at first, and then there was just like one here, one there, one here, one there. So it looks like Manfred is watching our podcast, and he listened to us when we told him it's time to take things seriously, Noah. And I you know what? I think we need to commend the MLB, because episodes 1 and 2, we were really crapping on the MLB and their handling of the COVID crisis. And I think they've done a very good job, really ramping up pressure on players to take this seriously. And you need to take care of yourself and your teammates, or we're going to punish you for it. And I think that was a great message they sent out. You think they're doing good, right? I'm not, exaggerating.
Absolutely. It seems like they definitely figured out where the issues were, what the problems were happening. To be honest, some of the problems were really obvious, like don't go to a casino in the middle of a pandemic.
We're looking at you, Cardinals.
And other things like just living in Florida in particular is a hazard in the terms of living in the coronavirus pandemic. So it looks like MLB definitely figured out what was going wrong. They mitigated that damage, and they ultimately are keeping players healthy, which is the important part.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see that they are finally taking care of their players and taking care of the staff members and their scouts and just anyone who happens to step into these stadiums, whoever is their, what's the word I'm looking for, essential workers for the MLB. They're doing a good job. And as much as the last 7 episodes, we've been like, oh my, here we go again, the stats are rising. If you really take time to think about it, they have gone from a horrible, horrible place, the worst place in professional sports for COVID-related illness, to a very, very good spot. They're not quite at the NBA level yet, but they're doing a really good job recovering from the big mistakes that they started the season with. So, MLB, congratulations. You have proven us wrong that you are able to handle something as simple as not allowing your players to go out in public during a pandemic. So, good job. Good job. It's a small congratulations, but congratulations nonetheless.
For sure.
So, Noah, when we started this season, we talked about who we thought the big players and big teams were going to be who have a chance to make it to the World Series. So based on, I read an article from Bleacher Report and found this very interesting. And they had the teams ranked in their best chance to win the World Series and the best teams post-trade deadline. And I took the top 5. So if we're going in reverse order here, number 5 was the Chicago White Sox, who are 22-13. I don't think either of us really talked about the White Sox to start this season. I'm not surprised. They have such a young team, and then they pick up a star here or there to really boost their team. If you remember, our viewers won't remember this, but you and I talking about it, I thought that the landing spot for Mookie Betts was Chicago. I was so certain that he was going to land there. But obviously we know that didn't happen. But Chicago White Sox, we were talking yesterday, they should have been there 2-3 years ago in the playoffs, really pushing for it. So what do you think's different this year?
I think different this year, in all honesty, is just they were able to put in some veterans into their lineup. They picked up Encarnacion. They have a couple guys on their starting rotation who are just starting to show out and really prove their worth in a sense of being able to carry a team or have a close game, stay in the game till the sixth or seventh inning and be able to keep their team in it. So that's really what I think the biggest difference is in this season compared to last ones for the Chicago White Sox. And I definitely agree 100%. They should have been here a long time ago, and I could see them being a stickler of a team to beat in the playoffs.
I think it's kind of baffling that it took this long because, they had guys like Yoan Moncada come from the Red Sox who everyone was like, this is the guy of the future. They're going to go so far and make it into the playoffs. And just every year they came just a little bit short each time. But exciting to see that they are doing very well, ranked number 5 by Bleacher Report, which is an honor. If Bleacher Report's even talking about you in a positive light, that's pretty exciting. And then number 4, this one gives me so much joy because, Noah, you doubted me, and you better eat your words. The San Diego Padres are in the number 4 slot at a record of 22-15. I mean, how could you doubt these guys? I know they're the Padres, so they're cursed. They're a team that no one ever expects to do well. But come on. You got all these incredible young talents mixed with some incredible leaders. They're almost the same formula as the Chicago White Sox. They've got this incredibly young team with guys like Manny Machado mixed in. And I know both of us hate Manny Machado. We're not big fans of the crybaby that is Manny Machado. But that just seems to be a formula for success, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're definitely bolstering their team. They're improving their team. Their trades that they made before the trade deadline were absolutely ludicrous by some standards. They were moving guys around like crazy. And I saw a funny meme I sent you, Tyler, of Padres. It was a picture said the Padres after the trade deadline, and it had like Garrett Cole in a Padres jersey, Mike Trout in a Padres jersey, Mookie Betts in a Padres jersey, Clayton Kershaw, I'm pretty sure, in the Padres jersey. Yeah, all of these well-known players just saying the Padres are just trying to take it all and do whatever it takes to get to the end or get to the dance that is the playoffs. So, I will say it's not surprising to me that they're here. However, I'm going to stick with they're the Padres, so I give it round 1.
That's just mean. You could have said the same thing about the Cubs in 2016, and look what they did.
I love the Cubs, though. There's a big difference there, my friend.
I don't know about that. And here's another team you love. Coming in 3rd place, the Oakland Athletics, going 22-12 right now.
So wait, hold on. For anyone listening at the moment, I do not love the Athletics, so let's set that record very straight.
I think they heard the sarcasm. I think that was understood. Noah, they've been a good team for 4 years.
Yes, they have.
They have been making the playoffs for 4 years. They just can't seem to get it done in the playoffs. I don't know what that reason is, though.
To be more clear, however, the last 2 years, they've lost in the wild card. And then 3 years. They not only lost, they were decimated in the wild card, okay?
I remember that Yankee game.
Oh, I remember it great because there was like a first inning 2-run home run in the wild card game. I mean, that's going to set a great pace for any team. So when looking at a team like the Athletics, they have an amazing season, but the second they get to the dance, they just forget their shoes, and they just can't. They can't get in. They can't get the job done. They can't get past that wild card game or do anything in the playoffs at that rate. And I'm going to keep with that. If they make it this year, they ain't going to do nothing after round 1.
They're not my number 1 or my number 2. or maybe even my number 3. But they definitely make my top 5 for favorites to make it to the big dance this year. And I'm excited to see if they can pull it off, especially if it's at the cost of the Astros. Nothing would make me happier. So hopefully, I think we can agree on that. We'd rather see Oakland in the playoffs than Houston.
Absolutely.
All right, good.
Especially if the Yankees are there.
That brings me to my favorite person or team on the list right now, because I love that you know, as being my best friend, I love nothing more than when I'm right, Noah. And the Tampa Bay Rays are coming at the number 2 slot at 25-11. Somewhat of a team that you hold a hatred for right now, because they have the Yankees number. This is the last team that the Yankees want to see in the playoffs. And the Yankees better pick it up if they want to make the playoffs. And I know I can't say that too much being a Red Sox fan. This is just coming from sports fan analyst Tyler right now. The Tampa Bay Rays will beat the New York Yankees in the playoffs. They have a lot of pop in their bat, and the Yankees couldn't do anything about it. So how do we expect anyone else to do something about it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to say the Rays are a good team this year, a damn good team at that. They're definitely the better team in terms of having it figured out. Now. I don't know. The Dodgers are looking pretty hot in terms of all of baseball, but
yeah, but okay. So if we're gonna go with your logic off the Oakland Athletics, the Dodgers can't get it done either.
The Dodgers have definitely made it farther than the Athletics in the last 3 years.
Sure, but they haven't done it. They've been to the World Series 3 years in a row and lost 3 years in a row.
Sure, I'll give it to you. I'll look at it this way. I'll say that the Dodgers will make it to the World Series, and I could see them facing off against the Rays.
I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you on that the Dodgers make it to the World Series. I think there are other teams that could do it, such as the San Diego Padres. But
come on.
You come on. They're cinching in that playoff spot already.
Come on.
But as we were saying, number 1 is the Los Angeles Dodgers, coming in at 26-10, only 1 game better than the Tampa Bay Rays. Who would have? You know what? I guess I would have. I was going to say who would have thought that this would happen at the beginning of the season. But if you remember in episode 1, my pick to win the World Series was the Tampa Bay Rays. And as we'll talk about later on our other show, I'm the champion of picks. So we'll see if I can continue that trend with Tampa Bay winning the World Series this year. Do you think this is an accurate list, Noah?
Yeah, I would say this is a very accurate list, to be completely honest. All of these teams are having great seasons right now. And if you're looking at the season as a preview of what they could do in a playoff spot, which you should do, then all of these teams should make it to the playoffs. And honestly, all of them should make it far. So that's that, and there's no other way to really put it. I'm going to stick with my I should say disdain for teams like the Padres and the Athletics. However, if I'm looking at their season performance, I should say they will make it far in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
It definitely should make it far in the playoffs. And you know what was shocking on this list? The Yankees were 9th. It's like, how the great have fallen. Can you imagine if they didn't go on that skid? They would have 30 plus right now. What a horrible, yet glorious fall for the Yankees as they fell from grace over the last 10 plus days. They're still, I say that, but they're still in the race for the American League right now. They just have to compete with the Tampa Bay Rays and a few other big dogs at the top of the list. But I think the Yankees will do well in the playoffs, as much as it hurts me to say that. They're a playoff team. They always perform well in the playoffs because they've been there so many times. So no, interesting topic here. Fighting in the MLB. Mm-hmm. Where does the buck stop? And I want to give my take quickly. I think pitchers are the biggest babies in the major leagues right now. If they strike a guy out for the 3rd out of an inning, there's no one celebrating more than a pitcher. They pump their fist, they jump up in the air, they spin around. But God forbid someone hits a home run and I don't mean just like a rinky dink. Like they destroy a home run and God forbid they look at it for 2 seconds. That is against the unwritten rules of baseball, which the unwritten rules of baseball are fake. Boomers come at me. Baseball's changing and you should too. The unwritten rules of baseball are just that, unwritten, so they're not real. So get over yourself. or you can go have your safe space on the bench where you're going to be sitting anyways because you're giving up home runs. Sorry. Anyways, where does fighting in the MLB stop?
Are you okay? Are you okay?
No, because I hate people who want the good old days of baseball back. No, I hate that. Baseball's better now than it ever has been. We just need to get back to the normalcy of no more COVID. Let the kids play is something that you go by, Mr. Cross. You love that campaign. But so we bring up the example of Aroldis Chapman against the Rays. Absolutely heinous. It should have never happened. Was he aiming for his head? Probably not. Probably not. What? But is he a notorious hothead who doesn't like to be beat? Yeah. But he also throws at 101 miles per hour at his best. Sometimes 102. There's was it Fox? I think it was Fox. I was listening to a Fox News report where he was very obviously a Yankee fan, and he goes, Aroldis Chapman threw near the head of the batter, and the Rays were upset about it. I go, he didn't throw near the head. He threw directly at the head of the batter. And then the fight started because of the Yankees. The guy didn't even do anything. He ended up striking out, and the Yankees won the game. And as they were leaving the field, the Yankees started chirping at the Rays. So I don't understand where all that came from, but I think Aroldis Chapman should have got a much bigger punishment than he got. He should have served way longer than Joe Kelly got. And that's just, I don't know. Can you possibly explain to me Aroldis Chapman's thinking here?
To be honest, not really. Because, as we said, and this is a person who loves Aroldis Chapman. I am a huge Aroldis Chapman fan.
He's incredible.
Yeah, great pitcher. Well, last season, great pitcher. This season, I think he's still trying to figure out, maybe still healing from when he was sick with COVID, trying to get his full strength back. However, looking at the situation, it's hard to really say why it happened. I think that the biggest thing that the Yankees were upset about in the chirping is that Chapman really and Chapman also, he said that he wasn't really trying to do it. So maybe they were like, it was an accident, chill out, and that's really what got them all fired up.
Chill out, though. You threw that ball at his head. When a pitcher throws the ball to the player and not the strike box, he deserves to get the crap beat out of him. Frank Cuesta from the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show, I completely agree with you.
And I'll say this. I'm all for let the kids play, and letting the kids play means that you're going to have moments like this. You're going to have moments where a guy throws at a hitter. You're going to have moments where they run out there and get into a fight. So
no, that's fair enough, but don't throw at the guy's head when you're pitching a 101 mile per hour fastball.
I get that. Now, again, I also agree you should not throw at anybody's head. However, if we're trying to put in all of these little details and, as we say, unwritten rules on how they're supposed to go at each other, then I just feel like we're kind of contradicting ourselves in a sense. Like, if we're just going to let them play, we're going to let them play. And I agree with you. You shouldn't throw at another person's head. But as I'm saying, if we're going to let them go out there and just do their thing and not whine about it when they do it, then just do it. I mean, then they did it.
I think that's a real gray area, Noah. I don't think that's talking about the unwritten rules of baseball. I think that's called about the decency of being a human being and not trying to permanently end the career of another player. Aroldis Chapman, that was an absolute horrible move. You are a coward, and I hope the next time the Rays face you, they hit a walk-off slam because you absolutely deserve it, just like when the Houston Astros hit one against you. Your little smile was hilarious, and I hope it happens more often than not, not just because you're a Yankee, just because of what you did. I hope the rest of the season is crap for him personally.
Well, it's pretty much looking that way, to be completely honest. But yeah, in all honesty, again, I agree with you that we shouldn't throw at people's heads. We shouldn't throw at people, period, because they can get hurt. Like I always say, if you want to really get over on a batter, strike him out. If you want to get over on a pitcher, hit a home run. Like, that's how you do it. However, what I am saying, though, is that we sit here and say that, oh, don't whine about these unwritten rules and this and that. And now we're kind of saying don't do this, even though it's not really. Well, it is a rule to not hit anybody, I guess. But
it is a rule.
Saying, if you're going to hit somebody, you got to hit them in this certain spot. Or, I mean, that's the thing. I just think it's kind of silly at this point in the sense of, like, why? Like, why Chapman, even if let's say you were throwing at him on purpose, like, just let it go, dude. Why? Boone got suspended No, I agree with Chapman getting suspended. Do you agree with Boone getting suspended?
It's just how the rule is, unfortunately. I don't think that Boone told him to throw at him, if that's what you're asking. I don't think that was the case. I don't think Boone's that kind of guy. He doesn't seem like a hothead. He seems more of a leader and a protector than he is an aggressor. He waits till something legitimately bad happens to even come out of the dugout to argue and get ejected from a game. He's not like the Reds manager who just is looking for a fight. So yeah, no, I don't think Boone should have been, but unfortunately that's the rule, Noah. So if your pitcher gets ejected for throwing at someone, then sorry, buddy, you're gone too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Had warnings been placed? Had there been like a little stir up before this?
No, there was nothing.
Okay, so I don't know then. I don't know.
They weren't really ejections because Boone got a game suspension, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're just saying Boone had somehow been involved.
Well, or I think it's just going off of the fact that it was his pitcher, so it's like, all right, go.
Yeah. Well,
you have to keep this from happening as a manager. Is what I think what they're saying.
Because you talked about how we're a little bit contradictory here, and we'll talk about that quickly. Because Joe Kelly, we all sang his praises when he threw at Correa and Bregman and Altuve, and I personally nominated him to run for president. And I guess there is, I complain and moan and whine about the unwritten rules of baseball, unless it benefits me, I guess, because I certainly enjoyed Joe Kelly throwing at the Astros heads.
Yeah.
And I think you would agree with me there. I think everyone, unless you were an Astros fan, was all for it. Maybe don't shoot at his head with the ball. But God, I want the Astros to be hit in almost every single game.
Well, it's kind of happening. But again, I mean, if you look at Kelly's just that kind of pitcher, though. But a lot of other players and pitchers, it's good to see them just taking it to the Astros and just decimating them. I mean, Jose Altuve his average is down in the low 100s. He's not able to find the ball whatsoever. So I think in that sense, there's a lot of pitchers who are just taking different avenues, and this is just the avenue that Kelly chose to take. And obviously, we were all about it because the whole thing leading up to the season was how many times are the Astros going to get hit by a pitch this year?
Yeah, the over/under.
Yeah, so in the sense of which one's acceptable or not, honestly, if we're going to stick with it, if we're going to say you shouldn't hit people with a baseball, neither of them are acceptable. Right.
No, absolutely. I see what you mean. It is a little hypocritical. We just have a sore spot with the Astros right now. But in all honesty, fighting in the MLB it's always fun because we love to see a full crowd of people charge at a full crowd of people. But in the world of COVID, knock it out. That's enough. Knock it off. I mean, that's enough.
Valid.
You stay in your dugouts.
Valid. No, I hear you. But yeah, I mean,
So if you guys have any different opinions on how fighting should be handled in the MLB, especially in the world of COVID right now, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions. Comment in on any of the Baseball with the Bard posts on our Facebook or Instagram. You can check in and let us know how you're feeling about it. But there was another milestone that we can talk about quickly. Mr. Mike Trout, congratulations on hitting your 300th home run off of none other than the lovely Houston Astros. Pitcher was Brandon Bielak. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But man, this is something I wish that could have happened with a crowd.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if there was a stadium full of people there, they would have lost their crap, especially because you have a player like Mike Trout, who they're saying is one of the greatest of all time, if not going to be the greatest of all time. So it's quite the milestone to hit for a guy like Trout. I can't even imagine what he's going to get by the end of his career because he's pretty much not even halfway through, if you'd ask me. So it's exciting to see. Congratulations to Mike Trout. If you're listening, big fan.
Anytime you want to come on Baseball with the Bard, you just give me a call.
Yeah,
we'll get you on the show. I know you're an up and coming and you really want to get your name out there. So yeah, anytime you want to come on Baseball with the Bard, you let us know. Incredible home run, absolute shot. So congratulations to Mike Trout on your 300th home run. Not much else to talk about for him. He's just that damn good. If we could, let's take a look here at the standings right now. We have the National League first, Atlanta is in first for the East. The Central has Chicago in first, and the West has those damn Dodgers in first. They got their 30th win. I believe they are now the first team to make it to 30 wins.
Yes,
so at the very least, they lose the rest of the season. They finish 500. So congratulations, Dodgers. You cannot have a losing season. First team in MLB to confirm that. It's not as exciting as it was last week because it was so much tighter last week. Like even San Diego, they lost a little bit of ground here on the Dodgers. Philly is still kind of sticking their head in it, but they're still in a position where they can blow it royally and fall right out of the playoff chase. Atlanta really picked their game up. Acuna has once again found his swing. So it is exciting to see them taking off again, and I hope they can keep it up.
One crazy thing about the Braves is Acuna just came back from injury
and he
a week ago.
Immediately,
and they were and the Braves didn't falter at all. Like they were without their man, and they were still taking names. I mean, the Braves are a scary team this year.
What is it? They're 10-10 on the road, and what does that say? 13-5. 13-6 when they're home. So that is a really good stat for them. If you can keep it even on the road and then have a winning record at home, you're doing well. And then in the American League, it's a bit of a different story right now. Tampa Bay in first, Toronto in second, and how the mighty have fallen. New York.
I think my computer screen stopped working. I can't see the standings. I don't know what happened.
New York has fallen to third place at 21-18. Why are you behind Toronto? Are you guys is your win-loss to Toronto not in your favor? It must not be if that's the case because you have the same win-loss.
I don't think we've played them yet this season, to be honest.
You must have. At this point, you had to have because you've already played all of your games against Tampa Bay. He won't be facing them again. So
this is true.
Don't worry. Your kryptonite is in the back. So you're welcome, Yankees. Another gift from MLB. They want to keep pushing the Yankees to win championships because they love pissing off. No, I'm kidding. If we look to the Central, though, we can just ignore the Red Sox. Moving on. If we go
no. Back that up.
What's up, Noah? What's up, Noah? What would you like to talk about?
Can we just say the Boston Red Sox are, what were they, 4? Joe, could you put that back, please? I'm sorry. I wanted to actually see the Red Sox.
No, it's okay, Joe. No, it's okay.
The Red Sox are 40 and
27. Yes. 40 wins and 27 losses. They're 13 games over 500. Yes.
Tyler, they have 4 less wins than the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you, Justin. The Red Sox are terrible this year. And I mean,
he's not saying that in jest. He's a Red Sox fan. He's saying that sadly.
Well,
Justin is the host of another podcast. He does the What's Up Wrestler podcast. He's a good friend of mine and the runner of the Nerds of Wrestling.
That makes it even better. The fact that he's a Red Sox fan just makes it even better.
Oh, I think everyone could admit the Red Sox are having a poor season. That's why I said move on. Why beat a dead horse? We don't need to beat the dead horse.
Why not?
I guess it's the only joy you have right now.
Sox looking for 2022.
I guess it's the only joy that you Yankee fans have right now is that the Red Sox are doing worse because you know deep down you'll never beat the Dodgers or the Rays in the playoffs.
Hey. No.
All right. You sound like OV. You sound like OV when you don't have a response
I'll say this,
to the question. You just yell.
As a Yankees fan, I will say that I am also looking to 2022 at the moment. So, but we'll get to that. We'll get to them in a minute.
But yes, so in the other leagues, it wasn't really the races remained exactly where they were. The AL East was where the craziness happened. The Rays were like, "See ya," and just shot to the top. And now, all of a sudden, you know what, Steve? If you are listening, you said last week that everyone's sleeping on Toronto. I think you were right, buddy, because now they're in second place in the AL East, ahead of the Yankees. And stop it, Yankee fan! Stop giving me those eyeballs. But yes, let's take a look now at the decrepit Boston Red Sox real quick. The record this week, they did have one doubleheader, so that's why there's 8 games here. They went 3-5, and I had written that it's just an unacceptable form of playing. I think personally that the Sox have gone into reset mode. They did have a walk-off win, which was great and all. Okay, awesome. But I don't know why people are so celebratory. I am a Sox fan, but I'm not going out and celebrating every time they get a win. It's just not realistic. They ended up winning 9-8 over the Blue Jays yesterday after Xander tied it up in the ninth inning. And did you see how Christian Vasquez scored in the ninth? Noah, did you watch that?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. It was just like a little league play. He was on third with, I believe, one gone because they went for a fielder's choice to get him out at home because he had taken off with one out. Christian Vasquez decided to take off from third on a dribbler to the first baseman. And luckily, he was able to slide in and avoid the tag, and the Red Sox walked it off.
That's funny.
So we love Christian Vasquez. I think he's someone who's going to be hanging around for quite a while in Boston because they need some sort of security here.
I don't know. I don't think we can make any of those statements when it comes.
I know, right? God, Mitch Moreland being gone right now, but there is a little bit of a bright spot. The newcomer Yairo Munoz. He's the Red Sox utility player right now. Kind of looks like he's the one who's going to be taking the place of Brock Holt. He's been doing really good. So I wrote the Red Sox utility player has combined for 6 hits in 2 7-inning games on Friday as Boston split its doubleheader with the Toronto Blue Jays. He went 6 for 7 with 3 RBIs and 4 runs scored. The players seem to be impressed with Yairo, and they claim that he claimed that he'd never had 6 hits in a day, which not surprising because usually you don't play 2 games back to back. So very exciting to see this young man coming up out of the minors and showing that he's here to play and proving it in a season that everyone's probably pretty bummed out and depressed in the dugout. These young guys have been the ones showing up.
Yeah, no, it's good to see. It's basically putting a little bit of life back into the Red Sox organization when you have a lot of players who I guess don't have the big names yet. Going forward, putting runs on the board, making good plays, and overall keeping the spirit of the team alive. So I guess as a Red Sox fan, you should be hopeful for the next couple seasons.
Yeah.
To see what they might have in store. There's still a little to figure out. But as I said, if they can keep these guys coming in here and doing their job, doing damage, as an ex-manager would say, then it's looking good. It's looking good.
Yeah, and if you're just a in the present person right now, it's not great because we just see all of these young players, which usually means we've given up on the season and we are looking towards the future. It's not what they're saying out loud, but it's what they really mean by it. And the pitching depth, horrible, but I don't think we can blame that. I wrote, what happened to the Red Sox? This feels more like just a lack of pitching depth. Is it the morale in the dugout? Is it the hitting? I don't think so. The hitting is still present. Or is it the coaching? If I have to put it on one more thing than just pitching depth, I'd say that it's Coach Renicky really not knowing what he's doing as a manager in the MLB. I have forever pitched that we need someone like Jason Varitek in the Red Sox dugout coaching that team. Someone to bring back that 2004-2007 team and really rally this band of misfits to become a championship team. So I'm hoping that the Red Sox have this way of doing a really crappy season and then coming back the next year and just being unstoppable. So here's hoping that this is that year. We like that little 3-year gap, 2004, 2007. And then, they like to just wait a few years. They don't like the back-to-back. So let's hope that it's not just, it would be great if it's just pitching depth because that's one thing to fix. But I think it is deeper than that, and the Red Sox just need to do a full wash. But, Noah, it's not just the Red Sox doing poorly this week.
No, this week, last couple of weeks here, our next segment now on the New York Yankees is tough, and I think I just posed the question, what happened to the dominant Yankees? When the Yankees started this season, they were absolutely tearing through everybody in their path. And then just this last week, they just won 2 from the Mets. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Rays. They had a single makeup game against the Mets in New York, which to me was kind of dumb. But they lost that game to the Mets, and they split a doubleheader with the Orioles yesterday. 2 days ago. The Yankees record is now 21-18, as we saw, and they are 5.5 games behind the first place Rays. I want to just put up a tweet here, actually, by one of the Yankees broadcasters, Brian Hotch, and it talks about his wins and losses It's tough to see there. Now, I want you to see there. Since beginning the season with 16 wins in their first 22 games, the Yankees have lost 11 of their last 16. That's not a team that you would say is going to go to the playoffs. It's not a team that you would say would go far in the playoffs.
No, you guys are lucky it's the COVID season.
Yeah, they've definitely hit a slippery slope, and they're definitely going down in the sense of their overall production as a team. In the beginning of the season, we saw that their numbers were up and all across the board in average, home runs, whatever you would like to look at in a successful baseball team. Their pitching was actually doing pretty solid, with Garrett Cole having a really strong start, and then the injuries started to creep back. A lot of things started to happen, and now we're looking at a team where we're kind of just scratching our heads as to what happened. And as you see there at the bottom, Brian Hodge tweeted that yesterday in the 8th inning when the Yankees were losing 6-1 to the Orioles. Getting into the injuries here, Brian Hodge there also talked about Aaron Judge, and he says he has Aaron Judge has a couple of good days and started to ramp up a little bit. Aaron Boone said he will be increased baseball activities on Monday, so hopefully the Yankees can swing back into their groove that they had once they get guys like Judge back, once they get guys like Urshela back, who actually just visited the IL. I want to talk quickly about it.
You and I were watching a show yesterday together, and you looked over at me and go like, Tyler, no way. Like, no way. I can't even believe this. And we're watching wrestling, so I'm like, what? Did something happen in the wrestling world? And you go, Gio Urshela is on the injured list. I'm like, no way. They can't catch a break, Noah. How many people are on there now?
So of including Gio Urshela, he joined 7 other Yankees on the IL that are currently there this season. So Gio Urshela just went yesterday, 10-day. They think he has a bone spur in his elbow. They said they're looking into it. It doesn't look too bad. So hopefully he'll be able to return after those 10 days. But 10 days in a 60-game season, that's a
long time.
Chunk. That's a big chunk.
Literally a sixth of the season.
Yeah, so Thairo Estrada will be getting the call more than likely over at third, and maybe they'll be tossing in LeMahieu or something like that along the lines if they have to switch things up a little bit. Overall, it's not going to help the consistency of the Yankees lineup, which they lack.
No.
So they're not going to be able to have a guy slotted in one spot and keep him in that spot and hope he gets comfortable there. So by the time the playoffs come, he's ready to go. So we'll see where that takes them. Aaron Judge, as we just noted, he was on the 10-day IL. Hopefully he'll be returning soon. He's going to start more baseball practice and using more of his body on Monday to see how he can do. Jonathan Loizaga is on the 10-day IL as well, along with James Paxton, Giancarlo Stanton, Tommy Kahnle, Dan Otero, who's actually a relief pitcher, and Luis Severino. It's tough to see all of these players, and it's not like we're just naming random people here. These are a lot of the starters for the Yankees. I mean, you have a guy like Judge on the disabled, on the injured list, and Giancarlo Stanton on the injured list. Those are 2 huge bats in a lineup that do a lot of production, especially this season. Giancarlo Stanton was swinging like crazy, so it's tough to see. Yesterday, though, I got a notification saying the Yankees were going to reactivate DJ LeMahieu. I want to touch on this for a second. And I was like, oh, great. Yankees going to reactivate DJ LeMahieu. He's going to be in the lineup. We're going to do all right. And he wasn't in the game.
Yeah, no, that was a bold choice by Aaron Boone. And a choice that, once again, will be frowned upon by many a man and woman, because you have a healthy DJ in a team that needs to play well, and you leave him on the bench.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I think the best part of yesterday was after the game, the Yankees Zoom room, as they call it for the press conferences. Someone asked DJ LeMahieu, "Are you okay? Why didn't you play today? Like, was it because you're still injured? You're still a little, recovering from whatever was going on?" And DJ just flat out, like, straight face, like, "No, I'm good. Like, I was ready to play. I just didn't." So,
Aaron Boone's just a dumb. That's all.
Whatever. And it's an interesting stat I actually saw on Reddit. And it was that the Yankees are 18-8 when DJ LeMahieu leads off. When he's on the bench, they are 3-10.
Ooh.
So talk about a guy having an impact in your lineup. That's
definitely a stat you don't want to hear if you're a Yankee fan.
Yeah. So with him back, hopefully he plays today. Hopefully he gets back into that groove of leading off there. And let's hope we can get Judge back soon to go right after him and make that top of the lineup more solid again. On to away from, I guess, our outfield players, infield players, and the likes of Judge and LeMahieu. Let's get to our pitching mound here with Garrett freaking Cole. He added 2 more losses to his record this week. He is now 4-3 with an ERA of 3.91. One thing that I will note is that he's still racking up the strikeouts. However, he's had his last 3 starts, he's gotten 10 strikeouts, and that was also in a game against the Rays. It's tough to see a guy like this who came off of a great season like last season, a great start to this season, just kind of fall off the edge of a cliff in a sense. He hasn't been looking himself lately. He's struggling to keep the ball in the yard, which is the biggest problem, is that home run ball. And we always see Yankees pitchers struggle with that as well. Tyler, I was talking to Tyler about this last night, and I want to just mention it here. Let's go. Last season, Garrett Cole gave up 29 home runs in a full season, which is 212 innings for him. This season, he's pitched 46 innings and has already given up 12 home runs.
Yeah, that's not great. That's a pretty scary stat.
That is a terrifying stat for anyone that you spent that much money on, and you're hoping will give you all of those good starts, will give you depth on that starting rotation. That's the biggest thing that they needed in a guy like Garrett Cole, was to say to the bullpen, "Hey, we got this today with our starting pitcher."
Noah, I think he is a case we see all too often, as it is very difficult to pitch or play in New York, and the pressure of playing under the New York lights comes very potently to a lot of players. And I think he just currently can't handle it. I think he's starting off like Giancarlo Stanton started off. It's going to take him a while to get used to it. But you luckily do have at least 2 players who are doing a lot better than he is.
Yes, for sure. And the likes of Clint Frazier and Luke Voit, it's good to see those 2 guys pulling out. I honestly have here, the line I put was Clint Frazier is a new human being in the outfield, and that is true. Last year, and he got a lot of criticism for his defensive work. He would drop routine fly balls. He wouldn't be able to track balls down in the outfield no matter where he played. And this season, he's looking like a new player. He's made a few really good plays, a few web gems, as I would call them. He's having a lot of great decision-making moments out there in the outfield, and he's also hitting a lot, which is what you like to see out of a Yankees player. He's batting .274 with 4 home runs and OPS of .924 in 19 games. That is tremendous for a person who I guess had a lot of doubt surrounding him last season. The likes of Clint Frazier, a lot of people were sold that he was a solid backup player for a guy like Aaron Judge, but if he can keep up at the route he's going, it's good to see him. It's good to see him. What do you think of Frazier's work here, Tyler?
I think it's pretty exciting to see a young guy like Clint Frazier come out here. I mean, I'll gladly take him on the Red Sox. So, Mr. Frazier, if you are looking for somewhere to land this offseason, you just, give us a call. I'll gladly take you in Boston Blue and Boston Red and Boston White. We'll be glad to have you. But he's not the one who has my eye, Noah. The one who has my eye is Luke Voit, because he is an absolute beast, hitting .285 with 13 home runs and an OPS of .987. I think he's very obviously Joe just put this on the bottom. I was just going to say that. He said that Luke Voit is in the MVP race. I completely agree with you, Joe. Luke Voit is in incredible shape right now. He doesn't look like the big, I don't want to say chubby. That's not right. He was just a heavy guy his last 2 seasons with the Yankees. He looks like an absolute tank unit, and he is looking to be the one to take the Yankees out of this slump.
No,
I think he could be a good leader for the next few years for the New York Yankees.
Absolutely. I honestly couldn't agree anymore with a guy like Voit being one of our big bats in the lineup, being one of those more reliable bats in the lineup. And even on the out in the field, he's turning into a good first baseman as well. Those numbers, the numbers don't lie. When you look at Luke Voit, he's been tanking the ball. The home runs that he's been hitting haven't really been cheap shots either. He's had a couple of Yankee Stadium runs to right field, but a lot of them he pulls. He's a right-handed hitter, so it's not like he has that to his advantage. So everything he hits to the right field, he's got to push the other way. So he's definitely getting a good piece of the ball. However, as we've said before, it takes a lot more than a player or two to help pull a team out of a slump.
Yeah.
Like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because
the Yankees are still recovering from so many people being injured.
Yes, and that's my biggest thing here is I honestly think the Yankees are still dealing with a lot of the problems that they had last season.
Right.
I mean, you can't just miraculously hire a new training crew and expect everything to get better immediately or in 2 weeks or in even 3 weeks or even a month.
Your boys still need to heal.
Exactly. Everyone still needs to heal. Everyone still needs to get back to a full 110%. And then looking at the injuries here, Severino started the season on the injured list from last season. They're still dealing with that. Paxton never hit his stride this season after being on the IL, which started last
Back
season.
he goes.
And Judge and Stanton both were on the IL last season for large stints of the season, and they're back there again. So in all honesty, I just have to say it doesn't look like they were able to figure it out, but I think they're still dealing with the remnants of that sloppy season of injuries last year. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, they're definitely still dealing with this. I feel like the problem is the Yankees are always full throttle, and we've said it though that we think this season needs to be full throttle, and everyone needs to put the foot down and just go full speed ahead. But not if it's at the expense of your best players being hurt. I don't think they're going to be able to turn it around this season. I think they do make the playoffs, even if it's in a wild card position, but I don't think they make it past the first round. I think they do well enough to make it there, but I think there's so many teams that are just so much more better balanced, and they have pitching and hitting and defense, where the Yankees just won't be able to get around them unless they show up in full force and show us like the 2018 hitting force that the Yankees had, or hit the home runs that they had last year. I just don't think it's going to happen. And it's unfortunate for the Yankees, but very happy for a Red Sox fan that when we do poorly, the Yankees just don't get it done.
Yeah, no, I honestly can agree with you there. I think we're getting to the turning point in the season here. We're more than halfway through. I think the Yankees have about a week to 2 weeks to really turn it around in a big way before we have to just start saying, all right, I don't know anymore. Like we'll just wait and let's look forward to the next season and see what happens. So
this is going to either make you or break you. And that's how a lot of teams are feeling right now. They're either going to make it or be broken by the remainder of this season. But that, I think, is a good note for us to wrap up here, Noah. The Yankees are struggling. The Red Sox are struggling. The only teams not struggling in the AL East right now are the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. But thank you, everybody, for watching. If you could give me a moment, I would like to talk about Clovercrest Media really quickly here. Clovercrest Media, if you love podcasts, you visit clovercrestmedia.com for a wide selection of great shows covering sports, business, relationships, pop culture, politics, and true crime. There are 26 shows on the CMG network, and if you don't find one you like, which you will, you can start your own. We can help you launch your podcast for as little as $15 a month for the most basic setting in Clovercrest. Clovercrestmedia.com is the website you need to visit to make sure that you check it out and tell your friends about it. You can visit clovercrestmedia.com and click on the link for the latest for your favorite CMG Sports podcast, as well as our blogs, videos, and latest info. Finally, this has been the episode 8 edition of Baseball with the Bard. This is Tyler Bard. That is Noah Cross. Thank you for watching Baseball with the Bard.
It's time for Baseball with the Bard.